Hi, Rushali.
Hi.
Good evening. Good
Hi.
evening, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.
Good evening,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry, I had some network issues. So
Issues, ma'am. We are at the
yeah,
mercy of Zoom and Google nowadays.
yeah. I guess because I use my personal Google account for this, but I think most of your university lectures are on Google Meet, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm on my cellular network, so we'll see how. I hope we
Fine.
should be able to manage.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, any doubts, etc., we can definitely start from there.
Okay. Suppose we have a sentence. I have a car. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, in this have, there are consonant as well as vowel sounds.
Right.
So the question, when the options are there, it can be a mix of both. And then we have to see.
No. So the way that you will get your question would be, no, we won't test you on consonant and vowel together because it's only one question that we can ask.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So the way that we can ask the question is because it's multiple choice questions. You have to just think about multiple choice question में क्या ही हो सकता है.
वो आपने
Multiple
हमें
choice
पहले
question.
explain करा है, वो दिए हैं आपने reference.
हाँ. So that is the only way that we can ask is, is the consonant in this line is the consonant of this sort. So then we can only give you that kind of consonant.
Clear.
Which sound type is not there is too broad a category for us to be able to give. And so with vowel sounds, and this is another question, this is another hint to y'all, is that with vowel sounds, it is because we know you guys will, every one of us has a different pronunciation. And the pronunciation difference comes primarily from how we use the vowels. So for instance, when we are talking of cot, awful, of, I am in awe of someone. So awe, jo hai sound, it's not always clear, right? So in that sense, we don't want to penalize. It would not be fair. So we are not going to be asking you questions on is it the short or the long or anything. We are going to be more likely asking you questions on, are there rounded vowels in this? Are there unrounded vowels in this? Is the vowel, which of the following sounds does the vowel not have? Like, is it in the, it is definitely not got anything in the half close, open and close range. Maybe there is, something. So we would not try, we'll ideally not confuse you too much in the long and short.
I know, yes.
Too much. So because it's not fair. But the one that you should be careful about is sound. No, even that is fine because those will come together. So not really. You will get diphthongs. Are there diphthongs in this? Back oriented, front oriented. Diphthongs. Are there back vowels, front vowels? Those kinds. So vowels will be more in terms of placement rather than in terms of the sound recognition. Consonants will also be type, manner, place, articulation.
Fine.
But consonants generally, most everyone gets it. I mean, I do get the fact that you may make a mistake between sir and zer or b and w because pronunciations do differ in that sense. But those are fewer in number, and generally the rest of it you should be able to make out in that sense. So
And that question, three-term labels. So such questions should we expect or not in terms of
you're already, the three-term labels are that in consonant, the three-term label is the type, manner, and place of articulation. So voiced, voiceless is type. Place of articulation is bilabial, labiodental, fricative, dental, all of that. Manner of articulation is plosive, fricative, affricate, approximant or semi-vowel. Those are the types of articulation. So yes, you can get a question which says which of these is not there, in this word or in this line. which of this is not there. So maybe there aren't any fricatives in the line. Maybe there isn't any approximant in the line, you know, like r, y, those are not there. So that can be there as a question.
Okay, ma'am.
Do I make myself clear?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Crystal clear. You know, because consonants still with the verb, as in spelling also you can make out. But vowels are slightly difficult.
Vowels are the reason why most of us have pronunciation problems are vowels. We don't know how to pronounce vowels.
Yes.
Also, all our languages have very different ways of emphasizing vowels. Like the akar in Hindi and a lot of Indian languages is a lot more pronounced than the of English. And that makes a lot of difference. How we add a sound at the end of consonant sounds sometimes makes a difference. So April, you know, there will be someone who will say April, and the l just becomes l, and that is how they will say it, because that's how their own language may have ending sounds in that sense. So
That is why
we don't, yeah, we are not testing you on pronunciation. We are, as I said, more testing on the aspect of
the placement.
is it open, is it closed, are there closed sounds in the line. How many closed sounds? You can have a question like how many closed sounds are there in the line, right? You could have a question. You could have
और मेरी चाय.
So you can have a question on how many closed sounds are there in the poem. For instance, you know, I am a fool, right? Now, there is only one closed sound in this line. If I'm saying I'm a fool, there's only one closed sound because I is back oriented, it starts with a. Am, a is front oriented and open. Is open, I mean more towards half open, but it is there, right? And the only one that is closed is fool. So that kind of question you can get.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
So इससे ज्यादा यही question types यही घुमा फिरा के यही आएंगे. There is no other question type really in phonology. What you can get in terms of, because it's unit 1, the other things that you can get is, in addition to the phonology questions, you could get also which of the following words does not have a fricative sound in it? You know, those kinds of questions can be asked. So it could be that there is, you know, a list of words given, such as first, next, and yeah, next, first and next. यही अगर देखें तो fricative sound किसमें नहीं है. आसान है ये actually काफी. But anyway.
First में है और next में नहीं है.
Next में नहीं है because next has k, sir in it. Next, actually there is no sir, proper sir in it in that sense. But actually दोनों में थोड़ा you can argue that next has sir, slight sir sound in it, but yeah. So you would get questions like where you are having to think. So first, next, shall, okay, and jack. So then jack is not a fricative, it is an affricate. So that is what you can be asked. So sometimes people make a mistake and say sure, shall, maybe they think of it as affricate. ऐसा कुछ. ये बहुत आसान वाला question हो जाता है, which is why we don't like it so much. Because it's actually quite easy, because once you know the fricative sounds,
Yes.
then it becomes quite easy. Which of the following is not an alveolar? Which of the following words does not have an alveolar sound? That's very easy in a way to identify. But you should have known the table, right? I mean, you should have known the sounds of the alveolar. So those kinds of questions you can get. That's it. That's the exhausted list of kinds of questions you can get in Unit 1.
Fine.
अभी आपको बस line और words देखने हैं.
Fine.
यूनिट 2 में आपको क्वेश्चंस जिस तरह से मिलते हैं, that will be figures of speech for sure. Identify figures of speech in this line or something. Another can be meaning of the word, meaning of the line. This line does not mean this, or it means which of the following does it mean? The presence of the speaker, absence of the speaker, because linguistic and stylistic analysis में ये questions आते हैं. So this poem is written from a first person account, these lines are written from a first person account, from a second person account, third person omniscient, third person objective. वैसा questions आ सकता है. Setting of the poem, you could be given options, right? Like the poem is set in the house, in a drawing room in Britain or something. Questions. You would have, it's more comprehension rather than really having to study too much. Unit 3 में भी वैसे ही वाले questions आएंगे. हाँ जी बोलिए.
Ma'am, before you go to unit 3, this vowels, can you give us some more examples? Because I'm at least finding vowels a little difficult. More examples of the questions which you were giving.
Those are the only examples of the questions that are there, because in vowels, as I said even earlier, vowels are going to be only, see, it's one of the trickiest things in any pronunciation is vowels. Generally consonants you get, whether it is a p, other than psychology or something where you suddenly have to know that p is silent in psychology. Most of the times that p is written, then p sound aega, right? You will have some kind of a semblance. Yes, sh can be should, sh can be sure, it can be a C can be sir sometimes, cur sometimes. So there are some variants that you do have, like receive, C is sir sound, but reckless, then the C is cur sound, or recce, the C is cur sound. So those are things that you will have to figure out. But generally, by and large, most of us get the pronunciation of the consonants right.
Right.
Exceptions abound, but that's there. So the way that because we are not really testing you, also because Indian pronunciation is quite different from the received pronunciation, we're not testing you on pronunciation. Phonology is not about pronunciation. The kinds of questions that we will ask you generally limit themselves to whether the sound in this line is closed or open or half closed or half open. We don't generally test you between half open and open, or half close and close if they are very similar. So let me just give you another example. Like for instance, I hid him in the dustbin. All right. Now, while yes, ideally you should know that it is E, the small e, and that is half close, we may not test you on close. We may test you on which of the following is not there in the, which of the following sound types are there in the option in the statement. So back, neutral vowels, I hid in the dustbin. So neutral vowel, center vowels, or which of the sound is repeated, center vowels, open vowels, close vowels, back vowels. And then of course it has to be front half close vowel, because E is front half close. So that's a kind of question that you could get, which of this is repeated in the poem. And so we may not make it as half close and close, because you may have, not got that one right. So that's the kind of questions that we will ask you. We may ask you which of these has, and I'll repeat the sentence just because I'm running out of ideas. But one of the questions that you can be asked is, if I'm saying I'm a fool, and that's the one that I have, the number of questions I can raise on this. One that is one type of question is, which of the following statements is true of the line? This line has diphthong. I mean, which of the following is not true of the line? I'm a fool. Okay, this line has a diphthong. This line has a front open vowel. This line has just one back vowel. This line has a front half open vowel, which is what a would be actually. Or this line has a front close vowel, which is what E is, and there is no E in the sound. So that is the not true statement. So that is something that you can get. Or the question could be, which of the following, how many back vowels are there in this line? I'm a fool. And then you will have to literally count, and there's just one. In this line, there is just one. There could be a slightly longer line. I'm foolish, and I'm foolish and cowardly, and there you may have to count, maybe, though again here it will still be one, but back vowels could be more than one in this. Cowardly, you will have more than one. So that could be, or how many front vowels are there in it?
Ma'am, they'll not
So
ask to transcribe, like in the.
no, how will you transcribe?
That means you all will give the options and we have to select the right one. Like that will not come.
We have tried doing that and it doesn't work well. Symbols don't just, symbols make, I mean, by the time inputting it into the system is one, but once the system takes it and puts it out in the paper pattern, it's some other symbol that's not even there in any of the.
Okay.
So no, we are not trying it.
Okay.
Because we will just then have to give you complete full marks for that question, because question galat tha. So, no, not happening. We are not interested in repeating CBSE errors.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
But CBSE was not an error, it was a blooper, ma'am.
It was ridiculous, but anyway, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if you know that there is going to be a problem, why have those questions with those problems? Like, just avoid the question types. Otherwise, actually, that becomes an easier question to actually, choose transcription from the word actually becomes easier. It's a very easy question actually, because once you have the transcript and you have to just choose, to a large extent सबके दिमाग में सही बत्ती जल जाती है. हाँ जी, Anil, you were asking something, Anil.
Yeah, ma'am, is there any way to understand the voiceless? For me, everything looks like
I have already in the PPT highlighted for you the voiceless, na?
Okay.
Yellow में है voiceless, हाँ. जो भी left में है वो voiceless है. In a single cell, if there are two sounds, the one on the left is the voiceless. Okay. Everything else is voiced.
Okay. All right. So that is that particular picture what was shared earlier.
Yeah, correct? Yeah.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So that's actually easy, because the chart is just like you remember it if you have a photographic memory, and then life is sorted for you for those 25 questions. By the way, please remember, this is just 25% of the paper. Just pe tumhara pura 90% of the focus is on this 25% of this paper. But it's true that a lot of this year's questions are much easier, because last semester you had to do so much of learning. So the same linguistic and stylistic analysis questions that you had last time, you would still get them this time, because narratology is very similar to the linguistic and stylistic analysis you got last time, except that there is no clauses and phrases. You still have perspective, you know, whose point of view is it? Have they used direct speech? Have they used indirect speech? Right? You may have a question on what is the tone of the poem, of the passage, what is the mood of the passage, is the tone and the mood complementary, contrasting, the same, or is it things, right? So you can get all of that questions. What is the setting? Can you identify the setting? Whose point of view is being stated? Those are the questions that you get repeatedly. Again, you can get figures of speech in linguistic and or in narratology, but not much. Narratology, we won't give again figures of speech so much, because वैसे भी भर भर के figures of speech unit 2 में दे रही हूँ. So yeah. Unit 4, the kinds of questions I did share with you all last time. So how many main ideas are there can be a kind of question. You have to be able to say that there are, 1, 2, 3 main ideas. That's a difficult one, because that becomes very difficult. Everyone finds it very difficult to restrain themselves in main ideas. Which of the following words can be inserted as a linking phrase between this line and this line? There are 3 sentences given, and maybe sentence 2 and sentence 3 ke beech mein kaun sa linking word can be inserted? Which of the following is a good thesis statement? So you are given options of the thesis statement of a passage, and then which of the following may be a good thesis statement? That's an easier question, actually, generally. Which of the following does the author not say? So reading comprehension type questions bhi isme bhi aa sakte hain. Which of the following is the author not likely to agree with? Which of the following is, is the passage coherent? Is there repetition in the passage? How have the ideas been organized in the passage? Is there sequence in terms of action, or is there logical order of, important idea, sub-important idea? Is the passage, does the passage move back and forth in terms of ideas? Those are the kinds of questions you can get asked. So again, questions, the way that you would frame it is, which of the following is not true of the questions, given, or something like that. Which of the following options is true of the passage, or which of the following options is not true of the passage? The passage is largely coherent because, which of the following does not lend itself to the coherence of the passage? So repetition, linking words, simple vocabulary, short sentences, and maybe there is no repetition, or maybe there are no linking words, but the passage is still coherent. So you have to identify which is absent in the passage. Or they may ask which of the following is leading to coherence in the passage. And then again, the same options. The word passage pe depend karta hai. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, when you say passage, it will be something like last time, like a 4-liner or something, or it will be pretty...
Yeah. 4-liners, nahi, 4-liners. मोबाइल फोन पे आधी से ज्यादा जनता मोबाइल फोन पे एग्जाम ले रही है. हम अगर लंबे लंबे पैसेजेस देने लगे तो फिर गए काम से.
Okay, ma'am.
See, the average we have got about people taking the test is they don't take 1 hour to do any of the exams, irrespective of how long. But
That's
this paper actually, averagely, people take more time to complete than some of your other theory papers of English literature.
No, I agree, because drama and fiction I finished in 10-12 minutes flat. Yeah, because I'm good at drama and literature, and they're very basic questions. Very basic questions. There was nothing to think also there.
Same, ma'am.
The grammar paper takes time. Theory and grammar paper takes time.
Yeah, yeah. The
Then
grammar
I
paper
sat
is
in the
like,
exam. I didn't close the exam. I thought maybe they will think that I was, there was something going on. So I didn't close the paper only. I just sat with the paper for at least 15 minutes and then I closed it.
yeah,
the
yeah.
best part
We
is 60
know.
marks.
I mean, a lot of the teachers are like, जितना time हमें set करने में लगा उसका 1/10 भी students don't spend on the
And
entire
actually,
paper.
both the theory, like both the 60 mark, 40 mark paper almost took the same time
Yeah, yeah.
to complete. It's like,
And all the internal questions are from external only.
Oh,
5 minutes.
then हमें क्यों ज़्यादा set करने को बोला? Okay,
I
fine,
don't
great.
know.
Great. Anyway, that's good for you all. But the point is, the aspect of it is that you will have to think through and figure out the questions should not take you much time. Yeah, but I do know that the drama paper, I mean, not the drama, the grammar paper, this paper, linguistic and stylistic analysis, takes a little bit more time because you're still unsure and you still want to think, like just the words, like you will just spend time thinking and still sounding out the line. So it will take you that time. But आधे घंटे से ज़्यादा वैसे भी कोई paper नहीं लगता है. But even if we give you long passages, poems, I think you did get, no? Last time you got poem, teaching questions. I think you got 5,
So
6
we got
line wala
poems and
poems.
prose, ma'am. I think there were no poems last year for us.
नहीं, teaching questions में
Yeah, there
maybe
are
you
poems
all
of
didn't get,
teaching
maybe
whole-
your set did not have it, but teaching questions had poem in it, definitely. And
4
figures of speech question were based on poems, but those were still shorter lines. But teaching questions, it's very difficult to just ask a teaching question on just 1 or 2 lines, and so sometimes a stanza was given. So you would have had that much to read, but it's not very, very long, So yeah, this is, as I was telling, like, this is just a doubt solving and a revision class, and it's only for making you all feel assured that yes, we have covered everything, because ultimately this paper is not as difficult as last semester at all, nowhere near it. In that sense, that still means that you should go back to your notes on figures of speech. You should be able to know paradox, simile, metaphor, alliteration, repetition, irony. You should be able to identify things like symbolism, imagery, different types of imagery we did last time. So those, is there oral imagery, visual imagery? So you should go over those elements, I think. But that's it, because you have to recognize, है ना, visual imagery है कि oral है. वैसे जानते भी नहीं है तो वो line में क्या है वो तो मतलब you should basically be able to deduce. But even then, Anal, if you have another question, please do ask.
Yeah, ma'am, I just wanted to ask you one thing, that if we have to look at our index page, we see it is phonetics, and then we go to a lot of other, like other portions.
Linguistic and stylist.
Yeah.
Unit 3, Unit 2 is linguistic and stylistic. I mean, stylistic analysis of poem.
Yeah.
And Unit
ma'am.
3 is narratology. And Unit 4 is academic
And so if
writing.
you look at the paper, ma'am, then for the external, for the internal examination, again, we see that the phonetics part will be repeated. So from English perspective, don't we think that we must change the order, not include phonetics for the internal and take the other 2 units instead?
देखो ये यूनिवर्सिटी डिसीजन है जहाँ पे no one looked at whether Unit 1, Unit 2 is there. It is a blanket decision that first 2 units will be taken for internals. It's not कि एक पेपर को लेके किसी ने कोई रिसर्च करके किया है. It's a blanket decision that first 2 units across all subjects
for me, the
will be there.
Difficult part in this particular section, how much is phonetics.
I don't mind. That's fine. If it is the most difficult part, I have no problem with that being there. But I'm telling you, honestly, no one has sat in and done any kind of research on this, which is why you ended up with clauses and phrases last time, and you are ending up with phonology this time. But it was just like no one looked at the syllabus because it's an MA, it's an all MA course decision. All MA courses, unit 1 and 2 is going to be for internals. That's a decision. So no one has looked at anyone's syllabus. That's it. इतने सारे sociology में फिर कौन सा हर एक पेपर के लिए अलग अलग, that becomes very difficult at the administrative level. Also, some of these decisions were taken in pandemic times when last minute may, a lot of it was last minute, right? So how do we manage it was the kind of question to be asked, because people were still hoping it will be in-person exams. And even this year, we were really hoping it will be in-person exams. But that's not happening, thanks to Omicron and everything. So the decision from last year continues. But last year's decision was like, कुछ तो करना है, चलो जल्दी decide करो, फिर आधी syllabus पे internals होगी, तो पहले 2 units पे internals होगी, वैसे decide करा था. So that's
for
not
this,
changing.
ma'am, for this label, this term label, what we are going to have. So here the whole sentence will be given, correct? And we have to find out whether a sentence will be given and some certain alphabets in that will be underlined, correct? So that we be able to do it, or we have to like a sentence will be given and we have to find a syllable. When you're finding the phonology, then how are we going to
मैं
find?
already question types अभी 2 बार repeat कर चुकी हूँ, अनाल, please refer to the video.
Okay. Yeah.
तो नहीं, वही question types आएंगे. आप जो बोल रहे हो वो बहुत complicated है. Not from the sense of things. I just feel it's really about testing your pronunciation. And as I have repeatedly said, this is not about testing your pronunciation. This is about testing your ability to understand phonology. Phonology is the way in which we speak. Where are the sounds emerging from? And hopefully also the effect. Now, we are not testing you on the effect, primarily because the effect is always in context. So when I say, if I have to ask you, when you go and help a person who has said A or the person who has said E, ये मेरा favorite example होता है हर बार, but it's a particular question. Now it has to be set in a context. The context is आप अकेले हैं और कोई नहीं है, तो आप किसकी मदद करने जाओगे? अगर वो पूरा context नहीं बैठा है, तो how will you be reacting to A versus E? That's just the basic element. So that much of context setting, we don't have space for in MCQ. We can, but then the question will be so long that you will have to read everything and then be able to choose the answer. I don't think we are in that position to do that. So we are not going to be testing you an effect. Ideally, in the exam, if you were writing linguistic and stylistic analysis, you would also have been looking at the effect of the sounds. So what happens when plosive comes? This was something I started off with, where I said ki Marathi sounds harsher than Hindi. Marathi sounds harsher than Hindi just because the way that you're saying na, pani versus pani, just the na, the vitthal versus the vitthal, the thrust on certain sounds just makes it sound more harsher, much harsher. Similarly, there are certain languages like Tamil just sounds harsher than say Bengali, which is considered to be one of the sweetest languages. And when you look at the formation of what is sweet, you realize that they have fewer plosive sounds. They have fewer fricatives. They have a lot of thrust on the vowelic sounds. Their vowels elongate. They just stretch the along. I don't know if you've heard a Bengali child say ma, but it is so beautiful for that. I mean, most of the time, ma is there is a lyricism and there is this entire, range that comes in where they just thrust and focus on it. The way that a Malayali speaks, where there's a lot of force on the per, it sounds almost like a bh to us, like when they say problem, it sounds like problem. It doesn't seem like problem. Per in the problem is different from the bh in the problem. It just sounds like they're almost the same because they thrust it so much. Now, that effect then sounds harsh to us. I also was talking about how certain languages sound like Chinese, Korean. These have a lot of nasal sounds in them. So if you're not attuned to the nasal sound, then you're not going to get all the sounds like the ng. There are different ng sounds, and the variation in a lot of our Indian languages, some of our Indian languages have it, not all of our Indian languages have it. So ma and na are not always like chanda, chandrama, ma. When you put the bindu, do you write it as na or do you pronounce it as ma? Is a difference in opinion and in terms of pronunciation. Even in Hindi, you have problems with some of these letters. How much you trust, how much you put adha, what does adha mean, right? All that. So that element of effect and that part, we are not able to test you in multiple choice question. And to get you that question, I mean, it's not that I can't test you or you can't frame questions on it, but then poem's length has to be given, more context has to be stated, then you can have a question. So that आपको question वैसा मिलेगा ही नहीं. अभी multiple choice में तो नहीं मिलेगा. So, did I think you were asking something and I just went on to explain another part of what you're not getting tested on. But you will only get tested on the kinds of vowel sounds. You will only get tested on the types of sounds, the placement of sounds, the manner of articulation of sounds. You will only get tested on these largely. And testing you on the particular pronunciation is not helpful because we're not doing phonology. Then we will do pronunciation then. So we might as well tell you open an Oxford dictionary and give us the pronunciation, which we are not interested in doing. वैसे इसमें काफी चीटिंग कर सकते हैं. अगर हम pronunciation पूछते हैं तो आप Oxford dictionary खोल के ही हमें pronunciation दे दो ना. Actually, this is more difficult. इसमें फिर भी आपको थोड़ा दिमाग तो लगाना पड़ेगा. Does that address your concern? I know it doesn't fully answer, but
I think I'll have to wait until I see the question paper for all my doubts.
That's true. That's true. Okay. Okay. What else do we look at in terms of questions? If there aren't any, we don't have to hold the entire 2 hours. In that sense, we can wind up early. But if you have any questions, even later, I am on the Telegram group. I do see, so you can always ping and we can, I can help resolve any doubt if that comes across. So you tell me.
Ma'am, this
Anji.
analysis of prose narratives, you had given us some examples. You had given us some links, AP, some things, AP literature. I got only one.
Yeah.
I got only one which you had discussed in the class. The other links which you had put in the PPT, they were not opening.
But even if you Google search AP papers, AP English papers, multiple choice prose, yeah, multiple choice prose, multiple choice poem. AP is advanced placement. It's an Oxford, Cambridge test that they basically do with it, and you can get those papers with answers, without answers. A lot of people put up on the blogs and everything. So this was just for practice. And again, there are certain levels of question there which you won't be asked. I really like the AP exam because I think it helps you open up a lot. But there are certain levels of questions that even at MA English, we're not touching. It's definitely not doing that level of English analysis. But if you do want to be an IB teacher, then those are very good questions and to be dealing with. I have also given in the folder something called 5 literary and language analysis. So that has passages and questions at the end. I was supposed to put up the questions answers. I will do that.
So can you repeat it, ma'am? What did you say? 5 literary?
In the folder, it is chapter. It's called literary and language analysis questions, multiple questions. So it's I think chapter 5. So it just puts 5 and then literary criticism or something. It shows up like that.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
So I will put up the answers to that question also in the folder. But yeah, you can get a lot. AP papers are in abundance. AP English papers are in abundance, or AP literature is what you should be looking for. I purposely did not do a few question types from there because those are longer. The AP generally is on even the entire poem length because it's a paper that you can read and then the entire thing and you can mark the answers. So obviously anything that is very long, it doesn't have just 3-4 line references, those kinds of questions will not be asked. But yeah, those are useful to look at. You will find quite a few. There is a lot. Okay, Shiba, that was your question.
Thank
Any
you,
other
ma'am.
questions from anyone else? Ruby, Anal, Ritu, anyone?
Not right now, ma'am.
Okay, so as I said, the offer is there. I don't know when are your exams?
They're supposed to start from the 27th, but we don't have the timetable yet.
Okay, all right. And that's a good point. Okay, so even if they start from the 27th, if you have any questions or doubts in the meantime on the Telegram group, you can always reach out. Yeah, so we can check from there. I have put up, I had not made that last video public. That is why you were not able to see perhaps. Now it is public, so you should be able to see the last video after someone put 30th December, I just checked. So now you should be able to see it. This video also I'll put up tomorrow. So you should be able to see it. And for now, bye. All the very best, folks.
Thank you.
It's been,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yes, I'm around if you have any questions, please ask.
Ma'am, we have to study this paper too in the third semester.
No.
But every
No, I
semester
don't
there will be
see.
something related to linguistics. Like
No,
Okay.
there isn't. There isn't. In the next year's syllabus, when you're looking at it, it is largely on translation, American, gender studies, theory and criticism. It is those kinds. It's about text, background, and theory. A lot of it is that. It doesn't have linguistic and stylistic analysis as a practical paper is only in the first semester. And even then, you will have, and even then, yeah, I mean, the syllabus might change and this paper may go away in whenever. So, because there are a lot of people who there aren't many people who teach this paper and there aren't a lot of people who like this paper. I am one of the few who do. But you will have it in a different format in that sense. So the MA syllabus may change later, but in third semester and fourth semester, you have nothing to do with this paper. But I would say if you want to be an English teacher or into editing, this paper's purpose is very important. It helps you understand nuances of language, helps you to reflect on them, and it's supposed to help you use that reflection to teach or to shape the a piece of writing, a piece of speech. So when someone is like phonology, the reason why we do phonology is the sound effect. So I don't know if you heard, and the reason why I like AP paper is that when you do advanced placement in literature, in language, students learn these in 11th and 12th standard, where they are, you know, they learn about syllables and they learn how syllables can be effective, how a pattern of syllables can be effective. So you have too many syllables in a line, then it is very difficult to speak it. And therefore it is not memorable because people will not, you know, be able to repeat the line very quickly. They will have problems, they will stumble. So the better thing is to have a parallelism of sound patterns where they are shorter chunks of 4 syllables and 5 syllables and usse zyada nahi, because that is great for captions and slogans. So ab ki baar Modi sarkar, that kind of rhyme, that kind of this pattern, which is a very clever political captioning, sloganeering. But when, if you ever go into an advertising agency and you listen to the dialogues there, they are talking the same language as what the linguistic and stylistic class is asking you to think about. What is the kind of repetition that we need? What is the kind of parallelism that is effective? It needs to be parallel. Let's try and get parallelism here to make it more memorable. Let us get rhyme here to make it more rhythmic. Let us get syllables. Let us break up the syllables here to make it more easy for other people to chant. And so they use the same language of linguistic and stylistic analysis. A number of students I've had who have looked at this paper, cried about this paper, and then gone into advertising and then come back and relearned this paper is phenomenal. And you keep telling them, पहले ही बोला था, कर ही लेते थे तब, पूरा 2 साल तुम वैसे भी कुछ और तो कर नहीं रहे थे. I mean, many of the students in MA English, at least in the regular, are not really working. So, but yeah, these are things that are useful in editing, in sloganeering, in writing, speech writing. People do workshops on speech writing and they use these kinds of same language. So it becomes useful, but it's also something that you can ignore if you're not going to get into these other professions. So yeah. Okay, with that, wonderful Happy New Year to you all. Wish you all a very healthy, very successful, extremely, you know, supremely safe, because I think that's the most key word right now. Have a very safe, Happy New Year. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Same to you.
Wish you the same, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Same to you.
Bye,
ma'am.
everyone.
Wish you the
Good
same.
night.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye,
Bye.
bye, bye.
Bye.